Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. No more. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everybody, welcome to the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Series. Round 8, we are at Phoenix, the shortest track so far. I guarantee you it will be a short track. The race isn't going to be any shorter though, it's going to be full of action. My name is Hasse Rømer and I'm here with Jack Oliphant to take you through every single bit of it. And we've got a lot to look forward to. I think we're in for a race of attrition and one full of action, and I think as well, Jacko, that we could be in for a very, very unpredictable race here.
Yeah, well, Phoenix Raceway has earned its nickname as the desert oddball of the NASCAR sort of calendar. It's, well, for two reasons. One, it's set in a desert. Doesn't take much to figure that one out. And two, it's a bit of a different design, isn't it, Hasse? And that will give a little bit more of a challenge to those drivers who are out there as well. 27-second lap, so it's 1.6 kilometers roughly. Really not long at all. It's going to certainly be, like you said, a bit of a war of attrition. I wouldn't say it's going to exactly be a super speedway Daytona or Talladega evening that we've got in store, but hopefully that will still bring good racing. Narrow track, close racing. That's everything we want out of NASCAR. The next thing we need to tick off the list, though, is clean racing, and we'll only see that with time.
With time, indeed. And let us take the time as well to virtually hold our hands together and pray to the virtual Lord that is rarely above us, but besides or beneath us, in the form of our wonderful machines that allow us to go racing here at virtual Arizona. It's interesting indeed, and let's hope for the best. Gear, drivers, PCs, everyone, and a safe race as well. Amen to the virtual Lord. Anyway, Matthew Sufi, just having completed a lap, says he's got a lap to go still. Is he going to take that from the get-go, from the top of it? I'm not quite sure here. Freddie van Eekhoven doing well for himself. And I felt like I had to just pray ever so slightly. But looking at the standings, Jacko, we're in for a real thriller here, I think. A single point separates Sergio Hernandez from Frederick van Eekhoven, and then 12 points separating first and third. Third is Johan Osorio now. Now, of course, that is after the drop rounds have been taken into consideration, which has made things swing in the favor of Sergio Hernandez. But it won't take much for it to change yet again, and final 3 rounds are going to prove all decisive here.
Yeah, well, Sergio has played this season as highs and lows, doesn't he? He's had fantastic races where he's scored maximum amount of points. 3 times he scored 38 points. Now, that isn't the maximum. I think that's second. But no, sorry, that's third. But he's won a race. That was round 1. He had 43 points there. However, the ones that are hurting him really badly, or not yet, but potentially could hurt him really badly, are rounds 3 and 4. He only scored 8 points, remember. He had a bit of a torrid time for 2 rounds in a row. However, since then, he's come back with a bang. And that is why he sits on the top of the championship. The driver, like you said before, Johan Osorio, he's really been hurt by the drop rounds format that we've got here at the Simracersworld NASCAR series. And we can understand why we've done the drop round series. You know, it's a new series, even though we're on season 2. Not everybody can make it. It's a busy time of the year, X, Y, and Z. But if Hernandez or van Eekhoven have a poor round, Johan Osorio has consistently scored more points than them if you took away the drop rounds, which is really interesting. So, as Hasse takes you through the grid, keep that in mind.
Well, indeed, and the grid order pretty much reflects the championship standings, at least on the front row. It's Sergio Hernandez and Frederick van Eekhoven. Who else? Separated by 1/10 of a second. That is a big margin indeed. Bart DeVos, third for Simracersworld Esports. As well, his teammate Matty Sufi rounds off row 2. Then Paul Gosling for Quantum, joined by his teammate John Barnes in the 777 machine. It's Tim Perry with Kenzie Newhoff on row 4. And then row 5, consisting of Toby Ward and Bart Boland. Fernando Lopez of Ramon's Oval Spain is joined by the top flight contender and teammate as well on row 6. That is Johan Osorio, then Ryan Walker and Kurt van Honag on row 7. It's Bram van Heufden, Philip Russell on row 8, John Tusning and Sven Calvert on row 9. And Ari Sejas and Steve Clays rounds off the top 20. what's going to be row 11 then? Jochen Lennartz and Jürgen van der Perre. Then row 12, Lucas de Belder and Manolo Rock. The 13th row is going to be Thijs van den Bergen and Kim Behaid. Hendrik de Grave, Yves Fredericks, Stuart Musselwhite leaving up the beak, and Ian Roots rounds off the field. And the bottom 7 drivers having not posted a time in qualifying here.
Yeah, sometimes we do see that in this championship, don't we? We a few drivers preferring not to qualify and therefore starting at the back and trying to avoid some carnage. Now, it doesn't always work in their favour, but around the likes of Phoenix International Raceway, there's every chance that it could, unless you qualify in the front row of the grid, just like Hernandez and Van Etkoven have. There is a possibility for a few crashes in the middle of the park, isn't there? Obviously, we're not hoping for them, Hasse, but this is NASCAR. We've only had one fully clean race, green flag from lights to finish, although that's pretty rare even in real life NASCAR. So that was an extremely good and sort of lucky opportunity. But as the cars start moving now, it will be Sergio Hernandez who gets the pace well underway. Under 30 seconds a lap here, 27 seconds per lap was the qualifying and practice pace. So 110 laps, and in fact, there you go. For the first time ever, it's fitted onto the top left of the screen. Lap 1 of 110. Yeah. As soon as we go to double figures, that might change. But Hasse,
exactly.
we can take that.
We've seen it before fitted up there, but it was from the very start of the race, indeed. Now the safety car, I was about to say, and I did actually say it while I was thinking the pace car, but it came out my mouth anyways. The pace car is going to swing off to the left, and we're going to go green here at Phoenix, Arizona, with Sergio Hernandez and Freddie van Etkoven fighting for that championship, and the outsider, the underdog, if you will, in 12th place, Johan Osorio. And let's see just what kind of start we're going to have here, as it's time for boogity, 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 and we're green here at Phoenix. Sergio Hernandez gets a flying start. It's Bart de Vos getting up the inside of Freddie van Etkoven. And in behind, Matty Sufi's got the 777 car of John Barnes. The Quantum Machines, that's Kenzie Newhoff around the outside as well. Tim Perry getting in here 3 wide and behind. And Perry with a beautiful move taking 2 positions here. The 26 of Bart Boland as well in a bit of trouble up ahead. It's very clean. And all the way down through. A cautious start, it would perhaps seem, but rather that than any unnecessary carnage, here is Ryan D. Walker. He's got Kurt van Hohenacker in the 07 car, the fast steady, and he gets caught out on the outside there. And, well, look at the gap here already. Sergio Hernandez springing away, and I'm afraid we've got our first caution period here, Jacko.
Yeah, well, we didn't make it a lap, and that's quite... sorry, we did make it 1 lap. We made exactly 1 lap, unfortunately. And you're right, let's see what's been cracking, and it looks a bit of an odd one, to be honest. There we go. And was that Manolo Rock? It was indeed. Now, who's he had the incident with? Oh, no, there was an incident up ahead in the Skittles, guys. Changed back to Skittles for once. For Steve Clays. Now, that's Philip Russell who's going past. Oh, he just loses it, doesn't he? Yeah. In fact, Philip Russell does fantastically well not to collect him. A lovely little 360.
Exactly. Steve Clays, he doesn't even hit anything. Look at that, ladies and gents. That is incredible. Mind you, these cars are some of the hardest cars to drive you'll come across in motorsport. Steve Clays loses it on cold tires, does a perfect 360, just rolls on without a scratch to the car. That is beautiful indeed. And then in behind, it pops off because of drivers reacting to what's going on up ahead, and for good reason, of course. Not that we're blaming them in any way. It just shows you how little it takes. And you know what, Steve Clays, he's lost 8 positions here, but he will be thrilled that nothing more happened. But he is coming into the pits here, however, so you have to wonder just why that is. Is there something we're missing here, maybe?
Not entirely sure on that one, to be honest, because he didn't make any kind of contact, unless he span up the rear wheels and the attrition is so bad that after 1 lap it's all gone horribly wrong for him. I'm not entirely sure, but unless there was a touch of netcode and there's damage, I don't think so. I didn't see it, to be honest. But Manolo Rock and Ties van den Berg with the drivers in the background, who obviously were making a little bit of contact with each other. But we are under caution. Hopefully it's only going to be 3 laps, and 3 laps goes quite quickly round here. In fact, that first lap under caution period was 33 seconds. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't. That was the first lap by most of these drivers. It was 51 seconds. So it's still not an age, but hopefully we'll get a green flag running sooner rather than later. That's for sure.
Indeed. Well, it is just 3 laps, and these are some of the shortest caution periods that we're gonna have, given that the track is very short indeed, and that's very welcome, I have to say. In Formula 1, Freddie Fenekhoven, you would probably get black flagged for overtaking under yellows, but whatever. And by the way, a warm welcome to everyone joining in tonight on YouTube, on Twitch, and on our Facebook page as well. It's lovely to see you all. And a word of thanks goes to our sponsor, of course, Dynamixx Race Simulators. There is, as always, a link to their webpage in the description, which I urge you to check out as soon as the transmission is over, or perhaps when we if we get one of those races with a lot of caution periods. Anyway, Jacko, pace car swings off, and we're about to go back to green.
Yeah, Sergio Hernandez hits it early, doesn't he? Hits it hard, and he's off to Bugatti straight away to try and regain that half a second gap that he had earlier on. Bart de Vos is in a nice little pocket here, but Kenzie Neuhoff and Mathieu Soufi are getting anything but far apart, aren't they? They're going side by side with the Quantum Racing car, John Barnes. His teammate, Paul Gosling, has been really consistent throughout this series. But Kenzie Neuhoff, who has been a little bit more inconsistent with qualifying, however, he's been really good with his actual finishing positions. So what's he going to do around the outside of Mathieu Soufi? Now, this is the first test, Hasse, and how exactly you can race around this circuit. We've seen some of the super speedways, it's actually quicker to go around the outside. Well, here it seems pretty even, but actually Kenzie gets the move done, doesn't he? So it may well be advantageous to try and fly around that outside. And already we're back down to 27.8 seconds laps for Sergio Hernandez, the fastest of anyone so far. In fact, no, Frederick Fenekhoven, 300ths of a second quicker than him. We're already back to very quick lap times. We're on board, in fact, with Tim Perry. Little lift of the throttle there, wait to get the car pitched in, so it's not a super speedway. You can't just keep your foot flat in it. That may be why we saw the back end spin up of Steve Clays earlier on. Maybe he got his power down a little bit too early on some cold tyres. But a really interesting angle to see and appreciate just how hard it is to get these cars around this track. A little bit of a dogleg and late apex here and there, isn't there?
Yeah, indeed, it is. It is the oddball. I think it's a pretty accurate name to just what it is as a track. And it's a difficult beast to get your head around, it seems, especially if you're expecting it to be a clean oval. It's stated as being a tri-oval, though I'm not really sure that would even cover what kind of shape it actually is. Here's Johan Osorio, who's made one position so far. He's up into 11th place, and already now we can see the field stretching out in a way that we haven't really seen since Pocono here, and that's quite interesting. Sergio Hernandez got Frederick Fenekhoven 4/10 of a second down, and Bart de Vos keeping up with them as well. But the gaps start appearing down from there. 6/10 of a second down to Kenzie Neuhoff. Another further 7/10 now down to Mathieu Soufi. And oh, here John Barnes has a bit of a visitor on his inside, on the low side, and that's Tim Perry coming through.
It is indeed, yeah. So Tim Perry has actually gained one position. John Barnes lost one position, so they've literally just swapped over in that little escapade that they both went through there. That's actually a good move by Tim Perry, wasn't it? The fact that obviously I wouldn't call them braking zones, but the fact that there is areas that you're not flat out, you know, it's almost works as a braking zone, doesn't it, Hasse? For those of us who are more accustomed to maybe track racing, European track racing, where you can sort of lunge up the inside of someone and come off the throttle later than them and actually be carrying a load of momentum. John Tusting Hendrick de Grave almost getting a little bit too familiar with the 999 car. If he actually came off and hit him, probably had to be calling 999.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, look at this. Here's Van Hoeften and Ryan Walker side by side as well. And up ahead, it's Boland and Osorio too wide as well. And I think you're right about that high line there, at least on some occasions there. Osorio trying to get the run on Boland there, but Ryan Walker carrying good pace. Here comes Osorio, though, up the inside. He's going to try to make it past the Simracersworld car. The Ramones 11 almost getting it, but having to stay very narrow. Oh, and down below, someone spun off. That's Philip Russell, all by himself. Manolo Rock has had a problem as well, and I'm not quite sure what happened here.
Luckily, we're not under caution period. So what has happened? Oh, he's just lost the back end, has he? Is that a little bit of an early throttle application again, like Steve Clay's was? He touched the wall there. I'm slightly surprised why there wasn't a safety car incident there. But actually, we did get information about what actually causes a pace car incident, so I will look that up. And in fact, almost following the tyre tracks in Manolo Rock was Philip Russell heading straight into the barrier. So clearly, it's not exactly turn left and go fast, is it? As one of our teams would lead you to believe.
No, indeed, it certainly isn't. And these short tracks really just show how tricky it is to master a Mud & Cup car. And master a Mud & Cup car. Look at the gap now, 0.7 of a second already down to Frederik van Ekhoven. If it stays like this, of course, caution periods could come into play. Robert Lundgren, welcome to you, and telling us it is a very slippery track indeed, and as we can see for the drivers having their bits of trouble finding traction here indeed.
Well, I think following on from that, I won't reveal too much now, but there may well be an Ollie fact coming up about that if there's a caution period, which obviously, fingers crossed, there won't be, because I'm sure everybody will be rather listening to the race and us commentating on the race than giving my almost Wikipedia-style lessons. So I have had a little bit of a look at the Discord, and Brad Van told us that, I thought Johan Asari was going to go for a move around the outside of Walker, but actually it's opened the door right to a flick in the back end there. Scandinavian flick Hasse, and he comes back and catches it.
Yeah, another look at that one here indeed. Osorio looking like he was going to go around the outside and then just see the car beginning to slip away from him. Masterfully collects it. But it gives Van Uyften the perfect chance to just slip on up through and say, thank you very much. I'm going to have that position. And I'm going to see if they can keep it up. Van Uyften there in 12th place. A good position for him to be in. Oh, look at this Van Ekhoven. Now they're within the traffic. And he's getting caught up too by Bart the Fuss. And they're all closing up on Hernandez out in front. And that's very, very early to begin lapping cars. But of course, these are the cars that were involved in the incident that we have the first incident, both Manolo Rock and Philip Russell. And for those two, it seems to be a race to forget.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the lucky dog, which could help some of those drivers like Manolo Rock and Philip Russell. But you're right, it hasn't really gone their way so far. On board with a Brand Van Uyften here. He's gained 3 positions up to 12th place. He's got Ryan Walker and Bob Boland just ahead. So Boland looked like he was almost going defensive with Walker. Oh, caution period. We're back in the caution period. And not entirely sure why. We'll try and catch what's happened. But as we're sort of seeing that battle brew up, we are all of a sudden having a look at Jurgen van der Peer in the mystery machine. Steve Blaze goes into the back of him. Steve. And well, that wasn't exactly clean, was it?
Wasn't, but I think an onboard view from Steve Claes he was sliding out all of a sudden there, and Steve was getting ready to go on the throttle. The mystery machine wasn't going to have it so, and relatively.
He was just a bit enthusiastically trying to deliver the Scooby snacks there, wasn't he? In the
as you can see from the outside as well there. Relatively simple incident, I'm afraid. And our second caution period of the night, as we are on lap 20, or now the leaders just coming on to lap 21. Of course, now is a chance to check out the Dynamixx, the aforementioned Dynamixx website that our lovely sponsor indeed. And if not, then it's time to go for an artifact.
Yeah, well, it's apparently Phoenix International Raceway. As everybody's jumping into the pits, by the way, that's probably worth noting as well. Apart from 2 drivers. Now, is that's Frederik van Ekhoven who stayed out, and Philip Russell, who I think will unlap himself. So that's worth shouting out as well. But yeah, Phoenix International Raceway then. He opened in 1964, and it's been, as we said before, dubbed as the Desert Oddball thanks to not only its unique dogleg style layout, even though it is classed as a tri-oval like you mentioned before, Hasse, it's also slap bang in the middle of a desert. As I said before, it doesn't really take much figuring out. Now, apparently, there was early days, there was one grandstand. However, it was much more popular to sit on the hill on the outside of turns 3 and 4. You could see an awful lot more, and the tickets were cheaper. So they actually, although it was just a hill, they actually sold tickets to try and get people on the hill to try and still make money without actually buying, having to build a grandstand. 60s health and safety in a nutshell right there, I'd probably say. It was apparently known as Momentum Hill, which sounds a little bit like, if anybody's out there is familiar with Wimbledon, Murray Mound or Henman Hill at Wimbledon to try and watch the big screens outside the centre court. Apparently it gave a unique top-down perspective. And as I said, they actually chose to sell tickets from there. Also, though, it had some drawbacks, being in the middle, slap bang in the middle of the Arizona desert. One of the facts is, like I believe one of our commenters said before, it's a very slippy track because of the immense heat that's been put down onto the circuit. I'm not a physics teacher, don't ask me to explain it, but apparently it makes it extremely slippery. And also, just because we've got probably one more lap to go, I'll slip this one in there as well. The heat actually and the desert really doesn't help that the fact that the local wildlife apparently are a bit of an issue here at the Phoenix International Raceway. So they have to have snake wranglers go out before every major event and make sure they sort of to gather up all the rattlesnakes that live at PIR, the Phoenix International Raceway. So they have a pretty big snake problem, and they actually have people employed to go out to make sure there aren't any going to be crawling around on the circuit.
Well, that's that last one particularly interesting, I have to say. Oh, brilliant stuff. And that goes with the being in the desert. Carries challenges all of its own, and challenges all of its own are faced by the field. Today it's been a tough one already. We're coming back to green here as we're coming on to lap 24. And it's Frederick van Eekhoven, I think, getting caught out by that pit stop a little bit because Sergio Hernandez lost 1 place, but he's got tires now 24 laps younger. They're completely fresh indeed. Here goes Freddy though, and we're back to green, back to booking here at Phoenix. And how is the restart gonna pan out this time around? Tim Perry looks to take it around the outside of Bart the Fuss. Bart the Fuss having none of it though. And the two battling away. And I think Perry gets it. No, I spoke too soon indeed at Bart the Fuss. Perry goes too wide, however. Not too wide, but too wide. Way too wide out there. Up towards the wall. He lets Bart the Fuss back in. Gets a good run out there. And they're still side by side. That's basically an entire lap up ahead, though. There goes Hernandez with the fresher tires. He gets caught out, though, a little bit. And I'm afraid we're back to yellow flags here.
Yeah, not entirely sure what happened there, but I mean, Sergio obviously wasn't, saw the caution period, and that's why he backed out of it. Bart the Boss as well, and there's Frederick van Eekhoven just tucking himself ahead. Oh, it's a backwards looking Jochen Lennart, the boss of Dynamixx Race Simulations, obviously our fantastic sponsors here tonight, ended up looking the wrong way, which is a little bit, almost got collected by one of his teammates, but luckily got away with it. So we are back in the caution, even though he gets it back moving, it doesn't. Well, he's avoided the pit lane, so maybe he probably did just come into the pit lane literally like 2 laps ago. So it's not surprising that he wanted to stay out, but is his car going to allow him? Well, he's still going, so I imagine there's probably not that much damage, although he won't really know until he puts the hammer down, Hasse.
Indeed, that's hard to tell when you're going slow, but it's certainly also going to be expensive for him to come in. Though he could come in and take the fast repair under caution. Might just be able to come out ahead of the field and not lose the lap, but we'll see. We'll see if that's his choice. We'll have another look here at just what happened, because it seemed the slipperiness indeed catching out Jochen Lennart as well. And there is one of the Ramones cars. That's Manolo Rock coming into the pits alongside Lopez Viñal. So that's 2 of the Ramones cars, both coming in now for a pit stop. And we didn't really have time for much. Tim Perry has gained 4 positions, by the way. Looking down through the field, Hendrik de Grave, 13 places gained. He sits 14th overall now. Kip Behade has gained 7 spots, and Ian Roots, the big boss here at Simracersworld, has gained 11 places as well, having climbed up to 20th place here. So a good opening part of the race on his part as well.
Yeah, it's a few movers and shakers, isn't there? Obviously, just some drivers have had a bit of a nightmare this race so far. Fernando Lopez Vinales down 19 positions, all the way down to 30th. And Philip Russell, who is the only driver not on the lead lap, I believe. And he's down in 31st and has lost 15 positions as well. So it's a bit of a shame that we've had so many caution periods so early in the race. But all you need is a bit of clean lap running, and all of a sudden we're back on track to finish under the actual laps, because there's 110 laps here, and obviously if you run through them all in green flag running, we'd only be here for 35 minutes, which would be probably the fastest NASCAR race ever hosted in most places, to be honest, especially here on Simrace as well. But 110 laps of, even with a safety car running, that's probably still going to be finishing on time, which is lovely to say. Frederik van Ekhoven then, the only driver in the entire grid so far, Hasse, that hasn't come into the pits. Now, we'd love to have a little bit of information from you guys who are watching the stream, maybe Robert Lundgren, who is watching. What are the tyre degradation like here at Phoenix International Raceway? Because obviously me and Hasse don't get time to test every single track or anything like that, so it's really invaluable, the information that you guys give us in the comments. So what is the tyre degradation here like? I imagine, Hasse, it's probably pretty bad compared to the likes of the super speedways.
I would imagine it's much more akin to what we see at Pocono, where the tire degradation is mental indeed, and very, very tough on tires, like Reagan was tough on communism. And it's a tough race indeed here, Jacko. We're coming back to green flag racing, and when lights off the pace car, it's going to swing in this lap, and you better take us through what happens.
It will indeed. Yeah, it's going to be another exciting restart, I'm sure, but this time it won't be Sergio Hernandez at the top. It will be Frederik van Ekhoven leading the way just like he did just before. Apparently the tyre degradation is horrid, says Robert Lundgren in the chat. So keep that in mind when we're having a look at Frederik van Ekhoven, as he's going to lead the pack away. And he's gone. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing here. Sergio Hernandez is in a decent second place. A little bit of pressure, though, Tim Perry, I'd say. But hello, all of a sudden, behind Bart the Boss, Matthew Sufi and John Barnes are side by side. It looked like Quincy Newhoff and Paul Gosling as well. The Quantum Cars really getting in the mix. And speaking of getting in the mix, look at this back end of the field. Leaving Otto Beek as the driver we're currently following. But to be honest, you could be looking anywhere and see a fantastic fight. John Tusting and Sven Kalper right in the middle of the park here. Getting nice and close to each other. Hendrik de Grave getting very close to the wall as well. And he's going to cause a massive problem. Oh, there's a few drivers having to go outside and inside of him. Sergio Hernandez gets past Frederik van Ekhoven, who has a big moment coming out of the corner that seems to be catching everybody out. Tim Perry flies on past as well, and Bart the Boss is having a little bit of that.
And what an incredible restart it's been for Perry, who's jumped up into second place. He's really done the rest of the top field here at the moment. Now Bart the Boss wants to take third away from Frederik van Ekhoven, and he's looking to do it here on the entrance to turn one. Oh, but he goes wide, and is he going to go too wide there? Sufi's teammate's going to get in the way of the van Ekhoven car. Oh, and the Team Down Under machine's now going to go side by side here. I think that is indeed Quincy Newhoff, who's also gone past Frederik van Ekhoven, falling down into 6th place here. And he might just regret that he did not take that pit stop, because it seems that his tires are evenly degrading and at a rough rate indeed here. Now look at the Quantum car that's trying to get some kind of slipway there on the inside. Meanwhile, up ahead, Sergio Hernandez looking at a almost a 1.0 second lead. Very, very, very close to indeed, and it's constantly springing up here. Toby Warton. Oh, there's contact, and that's going to be another caution period, I'm afraid. And that's on Sorio.
Goodness me, there. I was about to say, to be honest, that Frederik van Ekhoven will be praying to the computer gods that you pray to at the beginning of this stream, Hasse, to give him a caution period, because he really needs to get in and get those tyres swapped off. Robert Lundgren's come in the chat and said if you push the car hard, really hard, like qualifying laps, we'll end up with the tyres going off between 10 and 15 laps. So really, really horrid tyre degradation. Ioannissario and Ryan Walker there, they so nearly caused an absolutely huge incident, didn't they? But luckily, it just kept between themselves. Assario just flies into the back of Walker. That's really unlucky there for the 555 car. As they come back across the track, that's so dangerous, isn't it? I'm not sure any of them had any control on what they were doing, to be fair. The 284 car of Brand van Ooyenford did so well to get that evasive maneuver. And in comes Ioannissario. And I'm going to guess in comes the 477 car, Frederick van Ekhoven. I'm wrong. Frederick has stayed out. So clearly, he's confident that there's still life in these tyres. And he wants to double stint them almost to see how long he can run. Maybe charge the field at the end. I'm not entirely sure what the thinking process here is, but if he pulls this one off, Hasse, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, indeed. I think it might be a thing. Stephen Wolf commenting that they're not wearing as much as they're overheating, which could be what we're seeing indeed. Could also have been what Frederick was suffering with that little bit of oversteer there. That does tend to be either a complication suffered from or a cause of, and both, of course. It's an evil screw, but it's gonna be interesting, and I find it interesting. I don't think Frederick wants to be caught out by this. I think he reckons there'll be another period soon. He wants to go in with the rest of the field. He reckons that his gamble to stay out on the first caution period, probably it hasn't really paid off for him. And now I think he's looking to just minimize the damage and hope that he'll get an opportunity to come in with the rest of the bunch so he can get up to speed, so to say, without really losing ground.
It's as I said before, it's an interesting strategy, one that I'm not entirely following, because as I said, like even in the caution periods, yes, the tyres may cool down, you may get a little bit of performance back. But as soon as he slid out the third corner, the dogleg, he was tumbling places, and it's only going to persist. You know, it's difficult to last until everybody else comes into the pits if you're just barreling down the order. So, I mean, Frederick van Ekhoven is a much better NASCAR driver, probably a much better driver all round than I am, and so we'll probably have a look at how he's going to crack on with it. But that's an interesting strategy. But anyway, look, we'll be going back racing sooner rather than later. And I think we're on, what lap are we on, in fact? We're on lap 34 out of 110, so plenty of running to be going. And just another look at that incident. As I said, Ryan Walker is a little bit of a passenger. Well, he is his entire passenger, isn't he? After that contact with Assario, who hasn't replaced his front end. We're about to go racing here, Hasse. I'll pass it over to you to go boogity. Yeah,
boogity time it is again. And let's hope for a little bit more consistency to the race from this point on. Note that Sergio Hernandez tries just to give himself as much room on the inside as possible and expect the Lucky Dogs car of 19 to go early again. Also expect Tim Perry to be awake to the challenge. He's done so well so far this race and has... Well, he's flown up through the field, and he's in second place now. Here is the early launch from Hernandez. He gets the run, though. And look at this. 2 Simracersworld cars with 2 Team Down Under machines right about in the Kangaroos are jumping to get forward. Here's Freddie van Ekhoven almost touching the wall on the outside. That's what he doesn't want to do there. Quantum driving in team formation as well, if you will. And further down the order, as always, as you come into the mid-pack, it's hot and close and hard racing indeed down here. And as we've seen on so many occasions, at a track like this, any small mistake is going to get punished big time indeed. And Hernandez is keeping the lead from Tim Perry as we're back to racing here. And now I think Matthew Sufi and Bart DeFuss as well are both wanting to take up the challenge to the 19 machine in front.
Well, Hernandez, we said that it's been a bit up and down, highs and lows this season. Well, he's certainly having a high here, isn't he? Because he's quite clearly the fastest man out on the circuit, especially with the new boots strapped onto his NASCAR. But it's all about Tim Perry, about how he can fight off Matteo Sufi. And you're right, from about third and fourth, Simracers Esports, for fifth and sixth, Team Down Under, seventh and eighth, Quantum Racing Team. So it's a 2x2 hurrah at the moment with Boosted Motorsport Toby Ward. So actually there's a little bit more symmetry there. Boosted actually sort of bookending the little sort of 2x2 with in second place with Tim Perry and in ninth place with Toby Ward. So a little bit more symmetry for those of you who enjoy a timing tower symmetry. Bod Boland in 10th place, so rounding that one out with Kurt Van Honecker. And then it's the start of the big gainers, isn't it, Hasse? 15 places gained by Hendrik de Grave in the Flemish Simsport machine. However, he's about to lose one of them for his teammate in Kim Verheyt. Oh, tell you what, this is very close. The Dynamixx car just behind is certainly getting very interesting in this little battle for the top 10. Well, to try and fight for the top 10. By the looks of it, as Paul Gosling now is actually under real fire from Toby Ward, isn't it? We didn't appreciate that before, but it's going to be certainly putting him an awful amount of pressure.
Yeah, indeed. And Bud Boland looking behind in the 26 to pick up every bit of scraps that'll be thrown around. And looking to... oh, that's Kurt Van Honecker, and he spun it.
Yeah, we hope that doesn't ping a caution period. It shouldn't do, because apparently if the incident happens below the yellow line, it doesn't ping a caution period. And by the looks of it there, you can see he then spins onto the grass and touches the wall, but that's okay because it's below the apron, which is why we didn't see Philip Russell get ping a caution period either earlier on in the race, or Manolo Rock. Hendrik de Grey though and Kim Verheyt, they're still battling like they're not even teammates, are they? They're just trying to keep Bram van Oinkven behind them at this rate.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, is that the Verheyt almost coming across the nose of Bram van Oinkven and behind him? Van Oinkven, I think, lucky both of them that they didn't quite do so. Ryan D. Walker's had a problem here as well, and it hasn't pinged a caution period. We'll see what happened to him. The 555 machine losing the rear end. We are under caution indeed. But we weren't when I looked, and then I looked up, and then we were under caution anyway. So now I'm slightly confused as to what's happened to bring out the caution period. Drivers slowing down left, right, and center. Who was that on the outside? Yves van den Bergen. I wonder if he's been involved in something here. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that'll be the one that pings it because he's not underneath the apron and there is traffic behind. So that'll be the one. Thies van den Berg being the caution period and the guilty party in this one. And does he just go a little bit too hot? He's coming out quite narrow, isn't he? And he just ends up smashing into the wall, trying to carry so much speed. And unfortunately, it's really not worked out for the Dynamixx guy here. He's going to be heading back to the pits. Although it's going to have to go around an entire lap before he can actually even get into the pits, because obviously he's crashed on the pit straight.
Indeed he has. Talk about bad timing there for Thijs van den Bergen, and he's now in 30th place. And I'm afraid that was perhaps the end of the race for Ryan Walker. Frederik van Eekhoven here coming into the pits, realizing that he cannot wait any longer, but this is going to cost him big time because no one else is coming in this time around. So he's going to be all the way at the back of the pack here, though on the lead lap, but with a lot of making up to do, though he will be on fresh tires while everybody else's tires are beginning to be on the worn side. Maybe he'll be able to make his way up through quickly. We'll have to see about that, but I don't think he's too happy about it. But anyway, it could work out for him in the long run, Lord knows. He's skewered. If we have another caution period soon, well, he'll be able to overtake the entire field while they come in. So he could be holding the trumps. We just don't know yet. We'll have to see. But this is Sergio Hernandez now leading Tim Perry, Matty Sufi, Bart DeVos, and Kenzie Newhoff. That's the top 5. John Barnes, Paul Gosling, Toby Ward, Bud Boland, and Kim Verheyt that make out the top 10 at the moment. And Ian Roots gained 17 places now, Jacko. Verheyt's gained 16 as well, flying far and about, doing very well for themselves.
Yeah, it's just about that time probably for some more Ollie facts, isn't there? Because to be honest, we've been a little bit of a while, and we've had a fair few laps under our belt now as we're back under the safety car. And to be honest, there's not an awful lot of Ollie facts out of Phoenix. It's an interesting circuit, but it's all about sort of the races. And if you don't know necessarily the drivers, that doesn't really mean that much to you. However, one driver that I did notice, who is very much, obviously, probably everybody probably watching this knows, Mario Andretti, how the sort of Italian-American racing driver of all disciplines, to be honest, of Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, you name it, sports car, he was driving it. He was a 4-time victor here at Phoenix International Raceway. So some big names flying about who raced in this. I think he was in IndyCar. In fact, he was in IndyCar. And apparently Phoenix would host 58 IndyCar races in a year, which astonishes me because there's only 52 weekends. So I'm not entirely sure how that's fitted in. I think there's a typo there somewhere. But it's still an astonishing amount for the IndyCars. As we're about to go boogity again, Hasse, I'll pass it over to you.
Will you? Didn't I take the last one a few minutes ago? I'm not quite sure, but I can take this one as well, Jacko. We've got the lights off. The pace car is about to swing off to the left-hand side. And, well, Sergio Hernandez, Tim Perry, no doubt that those two are going to be awoke to what one another is going to do. And I think they're trying to push it as on just how early they can go. Let's see here. Saves cars in, and there he goes. Just about as the pace car crosses the line, Hernandez is off. Perfectly timed. A good start indeed from the Lucky Dogs driver is Kenzie Neuhoff, making up a position on Bart the Fuss. At least so it seems. But you know, Bart the Fuss is going to come with a better exit there on the outside, trying to mangle it all the way around. And then just as it's looking to work out for him, the next corner comes along, and he's back side by side with Kenzie Neuhoff here. And Jacko, that's really something that we've seen here. What a great track for racing.
It is, isn't it? It really does promote sort of very close racing because you can go too hot through the corners, as Bart de Vos maybe was doing there. But then he creates a fantastic slingshot when he almost can sort of almost take a later apex and get the power down slightly earlier. It really does make it very interesting as Frederick Benetko, with on these fresh tyres now, expected to car through the field. He came out, he was in 19th position when we came across the line to start this green flag lap. He's now all the way up to 14th now, so he's certainly making his presence known, and with a little bit of clean air in front of him, he'll catch right up to the back of Ian Roots, who's gained 18 positions, our biggest gainer so far in this race. However, he's going to be doing something to keep that number, because I fear that Frederick Benetko has got him in sight. And it's more than in sight. He slides right at the inside, and I think Ian Roots probably knew what was coming there, didn't he? He's a bit too wise on the old boss, and we're back in the caution period, and I'm not entirely sure where that's happened from. Let's see if we can get a quick look. Oh, it's the mystery machine around again, isn't it? Jürgen van der Peer, as he obviously was hit earlier on, and it looks like there's a tap this time out as well in the Ramones car of Ari Sejas potentially.
Yeah, it is Ari Sejas. Just about there. Oh, as you can see, a clear touch. I think Sejas suffers from a bit of understeer, a car that at least looks to be getting a little wonky for himself, and that causes the contact with Jürgen van der Peer. But again, the Bell Speed NASCAR mystery machine. What a great livery it is. but he'll be saying that after a second spinner for tonight.
He will indeed. Yeah, he's probably going around thinking if he'd be having a good race if it wasn't for those pesky kids that keep crashing into them. It's funny. I love Scooby-Doo. It's such an underrated cartoon. Oh dear me. Glad that's tickled you, Hasse. Everybody in the chat's probably just shaking their head.
I have a terrible sense of humor, I know it, so it's okay. It's
it's all good then, isn't it?
I've watched so much of Scooby-Doo as well as a kid, so it's yeah, it just it hit a nostalgic spot indeed. Another caution period, another Oliphant perhaps.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's as I said, there's a few. There's not an awful lot. A lot of it is to do with the drivers that have. Steve McQueen apparently raced his Porsche 908 from pole position to victory in the 17-lap winter sprint SCCA event, and he also set a lap record in the process, by the way. And so there are some big names flying about in who have raced in the Phoenix International Raceway. Apparently, NASCAR didn't hold their first race here until 1978. It was predominantly an IndyCar circuit and obviously a few other things here and there, trying to build the numbers up. But as I said, 1978 was when the first NASCAR event came around. And in fact, I think it was 2006 or maybe even earlier that they decided that they would drop the IndyCar events altogether. So although they started with IndyCar, they dropped it altogether after a certain point to bring in another round of the NASCAR. And would you like to take a rough guess about how much they bring in just through NASCAR races alone? They have two of them. How much money they bring in through NASCAR? I'll give you a hint. It's in 100 millions.
Yeah, I believe it's probably around $250 million.
It's $473 million just through two NASCAR events here. So you can sort of understand why they could probably be able to drop the IndyCar events. And it's thanks to the fact that over the years, they ballooned this circuit up to nearly 80,000 capacity seats. They actually took 20,000 away so people could have more recreational vehicles. So there's your oldie facts for this caution period. And since I handed over to you last time, Hasse, you're right, it was my turn. I'll take it from here. Tim Perry is in second place. I'll try and get there eventually. And he's had some fantastic starts along with Sergio Hernandez. In fact, they've caught out the Simracers esports card. Both times these two have restarted from the caution periods, I have to say. Matteo Sufi and Bart DeVos will probably be expecting them to go quite early here since they've been doing that the previous couple of times. So how is Tim Perry and Sergio Hernandez going to approach this one? Well, he goes early again, Sergio Hernandez, as soon as he's available to him. And I tell you what, Matteo Sufi saw that one coming. Bart DeVos a little bit caught out, and Kenzie Neuhoff smelt that as well. So all of a sudden, Bart DeVos is going to be maybe losing out. It's Bram Van Uytven and indeed Bod Boland and Hendrik de Grey going side by side. Now, Toby Ward and Paul Gosling. Toby Ward really pushing through the order. He's in 7th place. A good show by him, the best we've seen of him so far, I'd say. As look at this, Lucas de Belder, Stuart Musselwhite going side by side. And in fact, here we go, Kenzie Neuhoff up the inside of Bart DeVos and is taking that position. But Bart DeVos, can he fight back? Matteo Sufi up ahead as well, putting Tim Perry under pressure. And all of a sudden, we're back under caution.
Oh, and we've had another problem for Iris, as I'm afraid. Oh, and he's lost it all by himself. And come to stop a slight kiss of the inside arm core, but it's enough. And he gets it rolling again. Probably not the worst of damage to the car after that one, but just see him losing it on the power, on the gas there. And it is a thing here, since they're accelerating from much lower speeds than they'll be used to, of course. Not the same kinds of downforce for the cars here, and as such, they're really having a hard time putting the power down on the grey stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to record a video when I first started. Well, yeah, I did try and record a video when I first sort of started covering the Daytona 500 with Simracersworld, and obviously going into season 1 where I knew I'd be joining you, Hasse, in the comms booth for the series. And to be honest, it took me about 5 attempts, just because every time I came out the pits, I would put my foot down, used to driving an MX-5 or a GT4 car or something like that, and I'd come out the pits, and the power that these cars put out through their rear wheels just spun me around before I even got onto the oval. So there is an awful lot of power, and especially, like you said, coming from lower speeds than they used to, creates a lot of wheel spin, and it's a slippery track to start with. The tyres aren't maybe acting as they normally do. It's, you know, it's a difficult track to drive. I think that's what we're trying to say, and that's backed up by what the comments we've had in the chat as well, to say that, you know, it's very slippery, it's not easy, and potentially that's why we're seeing more caution periods. We are still a good chunk of the way through this race, though. 61 laps done out of 110. So I reckon we're still good on the time.
I think we're going to make it I think we're going to make it indeed. If we get a few just slightly longer periods of green flag running, then we'll be looking fine for making 110 laps. Now, next week we're going to be having a break week on the series broadcast-wise. That doesn't mean the drivers aren't going to be racing, because they're going to be going to the Glen. They're going to be going to Watkins Glen on a road race. And then I might hear a bit of you thinking, well, why aren't you broadcasting a road race? That's going to be interesting. Well, yes, it probably would be. But the organizers, being thoughtful of the drivers, as ever they are, thought that they'd test out just how it actually works out before maybe putting it in next season. So if we're lucky, and I'm hoping to see this, because to see these cars on a road track would be really interesting. Also, actually, as far as I understand, Jacko, it's a very different car on the road tracks than to what you'd see here on the ovals. Well, we've seen, as I said before, plenty of examples of drivers just spinning up the rear wheels coming out of slow corners. Can you imagine trying to come out of Druids at Brands Hatch or something in one of these cars? It'd be an absolute nightmare. But you're right. I mean, interesting is probably what the viewers at home would be thinking about seeing a road race. But interesting is probably a bit of a euphemism for a crash fest, to be honest. So obviously, we're going to try and give the drivers an opportunity to prove their worth, and they want the road action as much as any of us, to be honest. So they're going to almost have to prove that it's an event that is viable and will be safe enough. Because the last thing we want to do is keep bringing out safety cars, because we're crashing every single lap. So Watkins Glen, that's what they're doing next week. We'll have a week's break. Obviously, it's week 13 for iRacing, actually. So, although that doesn't affect us, it's not the reason why we're doing it. But there might be an interruption for some of your other Simracersworld broadcasts as well. So keep an eye on that and keep your pin to Simracersworld. See if there are any updates. Indeed, and you can always check the site to check our upcoming broadcasts. They should all be scheduled these times, so it's a good way to get an overview of what's going on. Anyway, the pace car is going to peel off to the left, and it's another restart for Sergio Hernandez. Goes at ping the same time as just about when the pace car crosses the wide line of the pit lane, and they're on the inside of the... Oh, that was a bit of a lunge from Sufi. And Kenzie Newhoff is having absolutely none of it. Look at Frederik van Eekhoven trying to make up positions on the outside. He's in 12th place at the moment. This is where he started. He tried to gain an early place on Bram van Hoeften. That didn't go out and work for him. Here's Steve Clazy en route in one of the Flemish Simsports machines of Hendrik de Graaf sneaking up through on the inside. That was a good move indeed. And Steve Clays in the Skittles car. Oh, gets collected! And he's into the wall! Oh, Hendrik de Graaf with a fantastic... He's still drifting. He still can't get his car under control. I'm amazed we're not under caution period, though, as Steve Clays needs to get his car out of the way of everybody else. And indeed, he has now, pretty much apart from Manolo Rock. And let's have a look at it. This is Jochen Lennert's point of view. And that wasn't touched by Hendrik de Graaf on Steve Clays, wasn't there? And then Hendrik gets a big sideways moment. Oh, tell you what. That is a big sideways moment. And luckily, we kept it going, though, didn't we? As we're now looking at Sergio Hernandez still bleeding Tim Perry and Kenzie Newhoff, both of which have gained 5 positions from their starting grid position. So really good. Shows that qualifying isn't everything on this NASCAR series, something we already know, but for anybody who's coming in new, will need to know it. Frederik van Eekhoven in 10th place, though. He's got the boosted motorsport. Toby Ward. Oh, look at this. Kimber Haight in the 86 car. Will that hold Toby up? Yes, it has, and it's allowed Frederik van Eekhoven to potentially gain 2 places under one straight. Indeed, it has. He's gone straight up to 8th position, and Frederik is on the charge. He is, and with those fresh tires, it's really seeming to work out for him. Now he's finally getting to actually take advantage. And bro, that's Van Hoeften, and we're under yellow again. Oh, goodness me. Again, great evasion skills from everybody else. As Bam Van Hoeften, his car was already going before De Belder potentially made contact, I feel. And he did the right thing. He held the brakes even though he's right in the middle of the circuit. Can you imagine if he rolled backwards? And we'll try and have a look. Listen. Oh, we're going to quarter speed. But I think he was definitely on his way around, wasn't he, Van Hoeften, before De Belder made contact. That's why
the Belder made contact, if anything. And see, listen now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Exactly. I was just about to say it. The reason they made contact is because he had such a slide and was slowing at a point where Lucas de Belder obviously wasn't really expecting it. And that's turned out costly. We're back to caution here. We're coming on to, well, we're on lap 68 now. So, I'm just gonna have a look here. We're on caution period number... Oh, we've had quite a few tonight. So, for once my prophecies turned out to be right with this one. We're on, of so many I have to count them. That's 2, 4, 6, 8 caution periods by now here on lap 68 of this race. And, interesting indeed. And to the pits they come. Van Ekhoven comes in as well. He's not gonna be sitting out at any point anymore here. And then a few cars choosing to go to the front here, Jacko.
Yeah, one of which is Johan Asario, who really does need to pull something out of the bag. Now, we've mentioned a couple of times in the sort of pre-show leading up to this, the state of the championship. Well, if you weren't here for that and you are wondering what on earth is going on, well, Sergio Hernandez, this is with drop rounds now. So the drop rounds have been taken into account. This is how we stand. Sergio Hernandez on top, only by 1 point, no, 197 points, Sergio Hernandez. Frederik Van Ekhoven is second place. He's got 196 points, which is why we're keeping such a close eye on his progress back through the order. Johan Asario, on if it was a non-drop round championship, so if we didn't drop any rounds, he'd be on top. However, we do drop 2 rounds, so he is third place in this championship for now. And to be honest, as we said, if there was no drop rounds or anything like that, he would be on top of the order. So his average finishing position and average points gain has been really solid. He's about 12 points. In fact, he is 12 points off Sergio Hernandez. So there's still all to play for. And if Hernandez ends up having a poor round, and let's say he only scores 10 points or 8 points, then he'll have to carry that round now. He has to count that. So it's all about whether Hernandez and Van Ekhoven can keep it clean for the rest of this championship. Johan Asario not necessarily always had the speed, Hasse, but he is always around that top 10, which is assisting him to keep within that championship fight for now, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Interesting here, Van Ekhoven has a pit stop time of 9.85 seconds compared to around 15 seconds, plus, give or take a little bit, for the entirety of the rest of the pack, basically. So, wondering if he only took tires on one side, maybe that could be it for Van Ekhoven. He obviously wanted to gain track position to see what he could do with it. Of course, they're going to be going back to green with quite a bit of traffic up ahead, and that traffic is on worn rubber, so there could be a bit of a challenge, could be possibilities for both Van Ekhoven and for Sergio Hernandez, both of them on fresh tires now, to really make something out of it. But you'd have to think that with all 4 tires changed for Hernandez, that would present him with a bit of an advantage here.
Well, yeah, you do have to wonder about what Van Ekhoven was, what exactly 2 tires he decided to switch, whether it was the 2 outsides, front and rear right-hand side tires, or whether it was the 2 rear end tires, basically the 2 back tires. Be interesting to know as well, but I don't know if that would count, because he has to lift both ends of the cars up or down. I'm not sure, but yeah, an interesting strategy. He's, as you said, trying to go for track position to make up for the fact that he didn't pit at the right time first time round. But the lights are off, and it looks like it's going to be Jochen Lennartz, who was the cause of a caution period, to get us underway with Johan Asario, who was, again, the cause of another caution period in this race. But away we go, and the Dynamixx car is back underway, and he gets a good start. Not quite a flyer that we see Sergio Hernandez go for, but Johan Asario in second place is keeping with him. And look at this, Sergio Hernandez in the 62 car, Frederik Van Ekhoven as well. Oh, Philip Russell into the wall, and that looks like Kenzie Neuhoff or Frederik. I'm not sure which one that was. Heading in, and we're under caution period, not surprisingly. I imagine because of Philip Russell. And look at that, the touch of the 62 car, that is Kenzie Neuhoff. With Philip Russell, actually, it's Ali Sejas who gets sent into the wall. So it was Russell that Kenzie initially made contact with, sent Sejas into the wall by the looks of it.
Yeah, indeed, you can see Sejas going off after the wobble there between Neuhoff and Philip Russell. Well, getting collected, ever unlucky Hasse has there. And it's another caution period here. There it is. Oh, and hard into the wall as well. He has already spent his fast repair. So, not a good place to be in for the Argentine here.
No, I mean, it's not a wide track. I think everybody who's watching this can see that. And they were threatening to go 4 wide, weren't they? If the 477 car, Frederick Van Ekhoven and Sergio Hernandez really put their foot down, it would almost be 5 wide. And that's never going to work, unfortunately. In fact, the team down under cars actually make a little bit of contact because Kenzie was slowed up. And to be honest, again, I would say it's pretty good evasive action from the rest of the field, isn't it? We've had plenty of incidents, Hasse, that have threatened to become massive ones, but have just laid down to one car purely because everybody's probably a little bit more aware than they used to be to keep out of the way.
Indeed, and it's actually it's also a kudos to the entirety of the field on just how good they've become and actually avoiding so many of the incidents that's going on, and it's nice to see how the drivers are growing. Of course, mind you, the vast majority of drivers in this series come from a road racing background. For many of these drivers, this will be, if not their first, then one of their first experiences with oval racing altogether. So no wonder it takes a little bit of getting used to here, as it's another carbon copy of the restart we had just a few laps ago with Jochen Lennartz and Osorio on the front line. And then Lopez Vinales, Thijs van den Bergen, John Tustin, Kurt van Hoenacker, Sergio Hernandez up into 7th place there. Quick positions gained for him. And then it's Philip Russell, Kenzie Newhoff, and then Frederick Van Ekhoven in 10th at the moment. Tim Perry, John Barnes, Matty Sufi, Manolo Rock in 14th place. I think 10 places so far. Impressive job. Kim Behade in 16th by now, and having to look down through there, Ian Roots is down in 22nd. He's lost a fair few positions as well. Only a single car, from what I can see at least, having retired, and not on the lead lap as well. And that's the car of Ryan Walker. So everybody else still on the lead lap here, Jacko, which is also a rare sight. I feel like 76 laps into the race here.
Well, that's thanks to the fact that obviously we haven't had as much sort of massive incidents, isn't it? We haven't had a 10-car pileup or anything, although we've had incidents that have threatened such a thing. We haven't had it yet, which is quite nice to see anyway, and that's the reason why, obviously, if there's just 1 or 2 drivers who are a lap down, all of a sudden you get a caution period, you can lucky dog them background to be on the lead lap. We've had plenty of caution periods and plenty of lucky dog action, so that'll be one of the biggest reasons why we haven't got many people out down in the sort of tropes of not on the lead lap. But luckily, we're going to have another race restart here, and it's going to be Jochen Lennartz to lead us away, and Hasse take it away.
Yes, indeed. Yet again, the pace car, who's had a busy night, is going to swing off to the left, and Jochen Lennartz yet again is going to take us away onto boogity times as we're back to green here at Phoenix for the umpteenth time tonight. Lap 78, which means we're really getting into the final part of this race now. Osorio's having a look out the outside and almost coming into contact with Lennartz. Vinales in 3rd place still looks good as well. There's Thijs van den Bergen who gets the better of the 999 machine of John Tusting. There comes Hernandez flying up the inside. Look at the 19. Gaining places like there's no tomorrow. And we're back. Oh, we're back on the caution. Huge. Oh. Huge one this time, I'm afraid. Manolo Rock involved. And I think a fair few other cars. And I'll do my best to just see if we can catch an earlier glimpse at just what happened here.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest loser is Manolo Rock. Now, he had a touch there with, is that Toby Ward? And obviously the 18 mobile is Stuart Musselwhite, one of the Simracers esports cars that we don't often see very often, to be honest, in Musselwhite. But it's good. And as I said, I think the biggest loser there, here's Steve Clay's perspective. Now, there is more contact up the road. Jurgen van der Peer gets involved as well. Bram van Uytven gets spanned around yet again, but managed to keep it going with a... I'd probably give that a 6 out of 10 for for Rømer style racing. Have a look at it here. Oh, Toby Ward into the wall. But as I said, just about keeps it out the side of the Lucas de Belder. So again, there was more sort of action and more people involved with that one, but there wasn't many sort of wiped out cars. Only a small handful. And Manolo Rock, Stuart Russell White, and Ali Sayas all back into the bits. Ari Sayas is an absolute mare tonight, hasn't he? He can't catch a break. Jurgen van der Peer, again, I think that's 3 or 4 incidents he's been involved with. He's in the pits now as well. So far too many incidents for those drivers. In fact, I can tell you that Manolo Rock has been in the pits no less than 7 times now. Compare that to the likes of Jochen Lennart, who is currently leading this race. He's only been in once. And if you're looking at Sergio Hernandez, for instance, he's been in twice. So, Manolo Rock, 7 appearances into the pits is probably not what they... he's going to have to pay his pit crew overtime, I think.
Indeed. This is our 10th caution period, Mew, so that will mean that after this caution period, we will have done 30 laps under yellow flag, if I'm not completely mistaken. Which is quite a lot at a 110 lap race. We could do more at the end, as I just got around to saying before. This is very much where we come into the final part of the race now. 30 laps left, which could be as little as 15 minutes, although I'm not really counting on it. But this is really where it gets interesting. Normally, you see more of a chess game with positioning yourself coming into the final periods. But this, with all the caution periods and when to take the pit stops, etc., it really seems to be a difficult one indeed, and it's certainly one that has even the top drivers a little worried for how the outcome is going to be. And I think that's also why they're trying to gain as much as they can while the race is green indeed. Because of course all these yellow flag periods are also meaning that the cars are going to be with quite a bit less wear to the tires. The tires won't be heating up as they normally would as well. And that prolongs the life of each stint in turn.
Yeah, just having a look, sorry, Hasse. The pit counter. Now, I said that Manolo Rock has been in 7 times, and I'm pretty sure that's correct. However, he's not the driver who's been in the most amount of time so far. In fact, that honour goes to Fernando Lopez Vinales, who is, by the way, sat in 3rd position. Now, his last pit stop came on lap 54, so he's done 8 pit stops in 54 laps, which is quite an incredible statistic. And actually, Sergio Hernandez last came in 69 laps gone, so still expecting to push through the field. We're about to go back racing, luckily. The caution lights are off, so he will peel into the pit now, and all of a sudden it's Jochen Lennart for the 3rd time in about 5 laps. 10 laps. He leads the way, and it's an early getaway from him. Johan Osario not entirely doing the same sort of action, and look at that, a massive lunge at the inside of the 67 car. There's a bit of contact, and Sergio Hernandez is already up to 3rd place. He'll be up to 2nd place before you know it, and those new tyres working wonders. It helps when the drivers make contact ahead of you. But who's that following him through? It's not Frederick Van Ekhoven. It's Kenty Nieuwhof in the Team Down Under mobile. And all of a sudden, Jochen Lennart, he's up 20 positions. But I fear that Sergio Hernandez is a man on a mission tonight. And indeed, he's already going up the inside as we join the turn 1 for the 2nd time under this green flag running. But we're back under caution period. Sergio Hernandez just about got his nose ahead. Bod Boland flies. Oh my days, again, a real threat to... this is Lucas de Belder, and he catches Bod Boland. Oh, de Belder up in the air. Oh, Houston, we have takeoff.
Huge one indeed for Lucas de Belder. I think this calls for a roll bar shot.
Travel safe, patient, look away now. My days, that's awful.
Yeah, that's ground, sky, ground, sky, ground, sky, and then he lands the wrong way up. Oh,
I love how he puts his foot down, like the revs will help him get round the right way. It's like Forza, you put your accelerator down, it tips you to the right, but it doesn't happen here. Tell you what, I don't know who flew past there, Hasse. We can get a quick replay, maybe slow it down. There's a driver that literally drives as de Belder lands and he bounces over him. Now, the physics are obviously terrible. It's iRacing. doing iRacing things. You'd never see a car do this and then fly backwards. But if you keep an eye on that, when he lands on his front, I think there's a driver that just about gets away with the scare of his life. Now, look here. Who is that? Oh, it's Manolo Rock. Well, that's the sort of thing that needs to end up on a highlight reel somewhere for iRacing, because that's Manolo Rock. I can't imagine what's going through his head.
Oh, my word. And look here what I have for you. Manolo Rock on board. Car takes off. Oh! That's... oh my God.
He came off the throttle. If he didn't do that, he was getting crushed off. Cracking driving. I'm going to claim that as cracking driving by Manolo Rock. He knew exactly where the car was coming down on. Look at the man on the front bonnet smiling at him. Oh my days, that's terrifying.
What a moment. And, well... I'm rarely lost for words, but that was some moment there for Manolo Rock, who took a pit stop as well. We still got Jochen Lennartz in the lead here. We are now on lap 86, so we're closing in on the last 20 laps of racing now. Sergio Hernandez has made his way to the front row. Kenzie Newup up there as well, alongside Fernando Lopez Vinales in 4th. Then Johan Osorio, John Susting, Tim Perry in 7th place now. Then Matty Sufi, Frederick Van Ekhoven in 9th. Then Van Honacker, it's then Kimpy Haight, John Barnes, Paul Gosling and Philip Russell. And then a Belgian string, a Flemish string if you will. It's Hendrik de Graaf, Bart de Vos, Sven Calvert and Steve Gleis. Then Ian Roots in 19th place, ahead of Bram van Uiften in 20th. So, lights are coming off at the end of this lap, and well, a bit of a shame that we didn't have an army of Oliphants for tonight. Not that I'm criticizing you, of course, Jacko. I applaud the way you find facts for every single track out there. I'm not gonna reveal your sources. That's what they say. A good journalist never does. So
it's not Wikipedia. I can promise you that. I don't actually go on Wikipedia at all. So there you go.
Well, there you have it. Jack Oliphant does not use Wikipedia. The music.
It's just the Mew in my ear. He's just chatting away in my ear, telling me all these facts. That's what it is.
That would be great indeed. The Mew, our secret producer, who's in our ear all the time. Anyway, as I said, this time around, pace car's gonna peel off to the left, and that's meaning we're going back to racing in just about a moment's time. It's Jochen Lennartz and Sergio Hernandez. Let's see what the championship leader in the 19 car can get out of this. He is in a prime position, I have to say, to gain some points on Frederick Van Ekhoven, currently 10th here off Peels, the pace car, and let's see, we're back to Boogity, back to green here at Phoenix, hopefully for the last time. That's a very early start. Oh, we're back to, oh, that's gonna be a big one.
Oh, Kenzie Newup there. I'm not entirely sure that was needed on the start-finish straight. He could have waited until he got to the theoretical braking zone, couldn't he? And now, I was about to say there's 20 laps left. In theory, that would be 10 minutes. It's absolutely not going to be, is it? Because we're back under caution. Look at this now, Kenzie. He was really aggressive. He got a fantastic restart. He got a brilliant restart, but I'm not sure. Maybe Racing Incident on watching that back. Maybe we can get an onboard or two with Kenzie and see whether there was a gap there. That's a good camera angle. Oh, I'm not sure. He went very close. He could have moved over left more. He knew it was going to go 3 wide on the start-finish straight. And to be honest, there's so many drivers involved with that. We're going to take a while picking that one apart. I mean, I don't know what your opinion of that one, Hasse, is, but I think Kenzie maybe could have given him a little bit more room, knowing full well it will end up being 3 wide. He knew that Sergio was on the right-hand side. He's got a bit closer to the tyre wall. He could have gone. And obviously, I'm not entirely sure, Jochen Lennartz, he's trying to drift over. I'm not sure he's turning into Kenzie across the nose or anything like that. I don't think he's trying to block the way. It's a difficult one, that one, I'd say. But unfortunately, what we can confirm is it has caused a huge incident. And one that I think involves Frederick Van Ekhoven. Yeah, he's in the pits So Kenzie Newhoff, unfortunately, there, whether it be inadvertently or not, or how he placed blame, I don't know, but has ruined, unfortunately, Team Down Under's chance of maybe running for championship points here today. Sergio Hernandez, I'm sure, will be quite pleased with the lead of this race and the way that crash has happened.
Yeah, Van Ekhoven will have had his fast repair, I'm sure, to get him out of the worst of troubles, but he will be at the far end of the field, that's for sure as well. And, that is just such... I want to say, I think it's a little bit of a naughty restart. We can have another look at it here from... let's see what would probably be a good perspective. I'm just trying to figure out... Where is he? There he is, Johan Lennartz. So I want to have a look at this camera angle. Yeah, he comes across ever so slightly, but it's... I want to agree with whoever said it was unnecessary. Stephen Wolf, indeed. It seemed a little unnecessary to me as well, but that's how it is. And, you know, if you're no longer a racing driver and if you no longer go for a gap that exists and blah, 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 you don't know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. But, no, that's just how I feel about that particular, you know, sentence. But indeed, it was unnecessary, and there would have been plenty of chances to go for it, and I don't think it was completely necessary to do so that quickly indeed. But what this means as the lights are off, and let's see if we can get him running this time again. Now Hernandez leads ahead of Fernando Lopez Vinales and Johan Osorio, their third place. And as we saw before, in 17th is Frederik Van Ekhoven. So just how he's gonna get along from this one, it'll be interesting to see indeed. We're on lap... we're on lap 92 by now, so we'll go green from lap 93, meaning 17 laps to come back from 17th place for Van Ekhoven. And that's quite a challenge.
It is. It's difficult. I mean, we've seen Sergio Hernandez do it. Frederik Van Ekhoven has proven this series and this season that he's more than up to the match of Sergio, who was a little bit by far and away the sort of class of the field in the last series. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it. Frederick de Grave and Ian Roots both gained 19th position, by the way. Keep an eye out on them. But keep an eye out on Sergio Hernandez, who drops the hammer, and away we go. Boogity, boogity, boogie for what hopefully is the last time. Johan Osorio looking over the inside. Oh, it's the Dynamixx try. No, it's the Ramones try. We're going very sideways, but managed to keep it going. Oh, that was great car control by Fernando Lopez Vinales, the driver who's joined the pit the joint-most amount of time now. I think Manolo Rock has equalled it. And in fact, look at this. As we see, the Ramones car, keep an eye on that one, because that's the one that keeps that car control, keeps his footing, and to be fair, doesn't lose that much momentum. He's in fifth, granted, but he wasn't second, but he has on older tyres, so keep that in mind. This is Kurt Van Ho, this is Ian Roots, in fact, 13th place, and this is just to show you how close it is in that midfield pack. And this is what we're having a problem with. This is Frederik Van Ekhoven. He's in 14th position now. He's going to have to carve through the entirety of the field. Now, how quickly can he do that? And will there be enough laps to go before we are potentially into another caution period? Oh, Ian Roots with a big tank slapper. But catches him beautifully, I have to say. Kenzie is there to help him along. So it's a team down under machine working well. Again, the skills car, Paul Claesers, Jurgen Optebeek, Jurgen Optebeek, Van der Peers coming out of the pits. It's going to be a difficult one, isn't it? Sergio Hernandez, though, he's almost got a second to his name ahead of Tim Perry. As look at this, the team down under cars, they're just getting boxed in. They can't get through this midfield. They need to get a hurry on as well. Less than 15 laps to go.
Yeah, indeed, coming on to the last, what I think is, 14 laps now? Yes, indeed, and 3 wide through turn 1, they're almost forward. Van Ekhoven trying to sneak up on the inside of the 87 as well, and he's going to do it, almost. And Newhoff is there on the outside as well. What? Getting close, and they're swarming about the Flemish cars here. That's not going to go well. Or is it? Oh, it is. And Frederik Van Ekhoven's going to take that position as well. So he's really in a hurry, and he's getting that hurry on right now. But as you can see, it's not without risks indeed. And another incident now for Van Ekhoven would surely end it. since that would mean repairs. And he would have to spend time in pits getting that fixed. 13 left to go, so it's now or never for Frederik van Ekhoven. We're going to watch along here up ahead. Sergio Hernandez is now leading by 0.8 seconds. Tim Perry is now in second, having a 1.4 second gap down to Johan Osorio. It's spreading around until what we can see is the top of the bunch right around here, featuring Frederik van Ekhoven, now up into 10th and caution period again here.
Oh, caution period back under it, and it's amazing to see Team Dan Undercar's work, but you do have to question going the inside-outside route. Oh, it's a big moment there by the 26. Who is that? It's Bod Boland yet again involved with an incident, is Bod. And to be honest, every single week he seems to be at the moment getting, I think he was helped around in the end, but he was already sliding. He'd already lost it, I feel, coming out of the corner. It looked like he dropped down to the apron, which really unsettled the car. Oh, it's gutted for Bod. He is back going. I'm not sure how much damage there is on the car. He might have got away with it, but in fact, here it is. Oh, yeah, and then he is helped around, isn't he, by his teammate. I'm not sure who his teammate was that did that. Maybe Ian Roots, potentially. I'm not sure. It's hard.
The 46.
I say that with a clenched teeth. I don't want to blame the boss, but it was the 46 mobile.
I don't want to blame the boss, you know, but I'm afraid it was the boss indeed. But of course, Ian Roots under no real scrutiny here, because margins are so tight, and once one car starts sliding, it's not like everyone can just lift off at any time, because if they do, they're going to lose rear end traction themselves. We're just going to have an even bigger mess indeed at the end. So, but Bud Boland indeed involved in another one. And, well, it's shifted around the front running order ever so slightly. It's now Sergio Hernandez, Tim Perry, Johan Osorio, Mehdi Soufi, and then Lopez Vinales, Kurt van Honacker, Philip van Russell. There's a lot of fans in here indeed. Philip Russell, Bart de Vos, Kim Behane, and then Frederik van Ekhoven in 10th place, as we are coming into, or onto, the final 10 laps of racing here, Jaco.
We are indeed, yeah. It's we're hoping that it'll stay clean. It'll just be the next 5 minutes, say. But it's the problem with pace car breeding pace car, isn't it? Unfortunately, tonight we've had far too many of them for our liking. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. As we said, Sergio Hernandez and Tim Perry. By the way, we mentioned Sergio Hernandez all the time, but Tim Perry with a really good race this evening here, Hasse. And to be honest, Johan Osorio. He's on tyres that are a good 20 laps, 22 laps older than the two ahead of him. But he's just riding the wave of the caution periods, isn't he? He's not getting overtaken by anyone at the moment, because there's not enough time between caution periods or really anybody to make the tyres really work for them enough to get past him. So if he can, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to stay in third, and Matteo Soufi behind, who is on tyres at 22 laps newer, and a few other drivers around him who are on quicker tyres. But if he can sort of roll with the punches, roll with the pace cars, then there's every opportunity where he's going to pick up, yet again, strong top 10 points, isn't he? And when you consider the likes of Frederik van Ekhoven, who is in 10th place now, and obviously will hope to improve on that throughout the rest of this race, there's an opportunity for Osorio to actually gain on van Ekhoven. Maybe not Hernandez. No one's gaining on Hernandez at the moment, but... you know, that championship battle is again heating up.
It's true. We'll just have to see how it all pans out here. Jacko, lights are off, which means this time around, pace car is going to swing in. We're going to have 8 laps of racing left on the green flag. And that's not going to amount to a long time indeed. But we are going to see the end of laps here, and that's, I think, the organizers also realizing that this race indeed would be one of many caution periods, so it has been. But it doesn't mean that we've been without any sort of excitement. As a matter of fact, we're coming into the very most exciting parts of this race, because it's all gonna get decided in just a few minutes' time now. All the build-up, all the jostling for position, all the chess playing at the 250k an hour here, as yet again, it's a very good start from Hernandez. Osorio not quite a walk into it, but he keeps in front of Mehdi Soufi on the high side. Then it's Lopez, Vinales, Van Hoenacker, Russell, and let's see how it goes for Freddie Van Ekhoven's on the outside. Look at Karinov coming through there on the inside, and I think Van Ekhoven could be locked out here. Let's see, it's a dangerous situation, 3 wide. Oh, they touched, and Van Ekhoven is off.
I mean, you do have to question the team down under tactics here. It's one of the narrowest tracks in the entire calendar, and they're choosing to carve through the field by going inside and outside, creating at least a 3-car wide corner. As I said, in one of the narrowest tracks on the calendar. It's always eventually going to end in disaster. At least 3 cars wide. They may get to a point where they're 4 cars wide. And Van Ekhoven, in the end, gets turned around. I wouldn't say there's any blame on, I think it was the Flemish car that was in the middle of that, the Hendrik de Graaf potentially. Because what's he supposed to do with 2 cars on newer tyres flying around the outside of him and inside of him? He's just trying to keep his line on what is a very slippery track. And maybe he was going a little bit too hot, but it's a difficult manoeuvre, and it's not gone the way of the team down under cars today.
Oh, it certainly hasn't. Was Kim Behade with a stylish little 360 on rejoining as well. Here's a final view. Oh, almost taking out his teammate. A few other cars almost getting picked up in the kerfuffle, if you will, but all making it through, and almost all making it through. Not quite, but getting close indeed. This time around, Jacko will just have, 4 laps left as they come around. Oh, will we still... I'm thinking, actually, this time around we were going to be looking at 3 green laps here. More importantly, though, what happened to Freddie Van Ekhoven? He's still running, but with a damaged car and in 21st position, and this could be disastrous. Disastrous indeed. Mind you, just a single point separates Van Ekhoven from championship leader Sergio Hernandez. Now that's not gonna be the way it stands after this one, that's for sure by now.
Yeah, well, depending on how many points he scores tonight, he'll either have to score tonight's points or round 2's drop points, which was 32. So it's still a pretty good one to pick up for one of his drop rounds. So it's going to potentially take him further away from Sergio Hernandez. Well, it will take him further away from Sergio Hernandez, no doubt about that. But Johan Osorio might not pip him. He'll certainly be closer, but I don't think there'll be a change of championship order. So he might get away with it slightly, but it's still not ideal. Let's go for one last Ollie fact of the evening, Hasse. Just because I found a relatively decent one, to be fair, I think. Apparently, in 1997, the facility was bought by the ISC, which is the International Speedway Corporation. They own quite a few different speedways throughout America. We've mentioned them a couple of times in the Oliphant section of a few of the other circuits. And apparently, in 2003, they decided that they would pump an awful lot of money into it. The biggest thing they did was around turn 2, they put a wall around turn 2. Now that might sound like, oh well, there must have been a wall before that. Apparently, it wasn't. In 2003, that was the first time that this oval was a completely sealed unit with walls all the way around the outside, which sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? The fact that they could get away with racing up until that point, and it wasn't a sealed unit, and cars could fly off into the distance, essentially. I think they did put some tyres there, but it wasn't properly sealed because there was a road course. So yeah, last little Ollie fact of the day, because we're about to go racing for what is hopefully the final restart of this evening.
Yeah, indeed. And it's going to be swing off time yet again as Sergio Hernandez would just love for this to go all the way to the line. This time around he goes all the way again, and I think Tim Paris has awoke to it as you can be here. Look at Osorio and Matthew Sufi going side by side. Osorio's going to be going for it, and I think he's going to be keeping position, and it all depends on how much Tim Perry gets in the way. They just give each other the space there, and they will just about get through. And just behind, there is some interesting battling going on as well here. That's Kenzie Newhoff in the 62 around Bart de Vos and Kurt van Hoenacker as well. Philip Russell is there in the 77 car. Oh, and he gets a snappy moment there. And we're back to yellow flags, I'm afraid. Oh, my word. That's John Tusting. Musselwhite as well. The 565 that's leaving up the big. And Jochen Lennart's involved in this one as well. Let's just see. There's the contact. Musselwhite on the car of leaving up the big. He then comes across on the 999 Quantum Machine. And Jochen Lennart's got nowhere to go in such a situation. He gets collected by it as well. Look at the Belter there in the 69 car. Almost getting collected as well. But just escaping onto the apron.
Well, at least we have a driver of the day. Apparently, he's been voted by the fans in the comments box as the safety car driver. As John Tusting flies into the pits, not giving a damn about the speed limit, is he? He's just flown through. I can't imagine the time penalty he's going to get for that one. Very interesting, but I mean, there's no hiding it here. Hasse, it's been a painful end to this race, isn't it? It's just flat out, isn't it? The more the V8. No, screw you, pit crew. I don't need any of you guys. I'm just going to fly to the end. It's been a bit of a painful end to this race. What was a pretty good middle sector. I mean, there was safety cars, caution cars, but I mean, there was expected of that. But we just can't seem to go more than about 2 laps. And in fact, we couldn't go more than 2 laps then. It's going to be, I can confirm, a green, white, checkered as Hernandez goes close to the white lines. So we will get a finish regardless now. If somebody crashes, they crashes. We're going green, white, checkered. So it is at least going to get racing to the end.
I'm sorry, Jacob, but isn't there like 2 green, white, checkered attempts, meaning that you could actually go for a second attempt at a green, white, checkered should there come a caution period in between? Now, I'm not sure, but that's what
You may be right. You may be right, because it says on my little information here, GWC, which is green, white, checkered, 1-1/4, looking like 1 out of 4. So we may even have 4 opportunities to go for this green, white, checkered attempt before time runs out, which, I mean, to be fair, we're only we've got 5 minutes left, which that is only 5 caution car periods. So if we run out of time first, before we run out of green, white, checkered opportunities, well, we'll finish.
It's an hour and 35, I think, the time limit, so that would leave us 10 minutes from, on the mark right about now. So, but it sure isn't a lot of caution period nonetheless. It should be said, we are ever grateful for the sponsorship and support of Dynamixx Race Simulators. We have the big boss, Jochen Lennart's. He's racing here. Hasn't had the best of nights for him so far. At least, maybe he can make up 24 positions here and take the win on the green-white checkered. I'm doubting it. But look at the backside of the car there. The boss, Jochen the boss indeed. And a bit of a Godfather decal on the rear of his car. To make sure that everybody knows who they're messing with. I think the state of his car there, a few drivers are going to be in trouble after tonight's race. They might have a visit. I was just about to say a visit from Joe Pesci, but he wasn't even in The Godfather, was he? No. But, what was his name anyway? I forgot now! We're gonna go green, white, checkered, and it doesn't really matter anyway. Sergio Hernandez, Tim Perry yet again, and Osorio's gonna try to get around on Matty Sufi, but I think it's gonna be Sufi's position, and oh, look at Tim Perry there going a little wide. He's gonna get exposed as well. And it's all to play for now. Look at this, Fernando Lopez Vinales is on the inside here, and that's Fernando under caution again.
We are under caution yet again here at the end of this race. Jochen Lennartz is the driver you're having a look at now, and in fact, he's the one that turns around. Now, he hasn't got much traffic behind him, but unfortunately, the sort of incident, you could say, happens while he's facing the wrong way with traffic behind him and above the apron. So that is the reason why we've got it pinged for us. Fernandez Lopez Vinales is in 7th place. Now, he's, as I said, been into the pits 8 times, but I'm just having a look and see if there's anybody else who's equaled that now. I think, yeah, Manolo Rock's been in 8 times as well. And apart from that, actually, those 2 drivers are the ones that have been in the most amount of time. So, here we go, another caution period. And in fact, let's see, just to pass a little bit more time, see if there's any more Oliphants out there. See if, I'm pretty sure I found one just before. But I can't now find it, which is a bit of a shame. Oh, yeah, it was the last one, was the $473 million a year. But I stuck that in a little earlier on because we were running through the order a little bit quicker than we didn't have as many caution periods earlier on. So I thought I'd stick that in early on. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we've had this many caution periods. But just a reminder, obviously, for our fantastic sponsors that you can now go and have a quick look at because we've got a little bit of time before we finish this race now. At the Dynamixx website that is in the description below, wherever you are tuning in to this broadcast from. It's filled with racing simulation sort of goodies that you can window shop for, or indeed go ahead and purchase. And you can tell Mr. Jochen Lennartz that it was because he sponsored the SRW NASCAR series that you fancy to buy one of his rigs. You never know, Hasse, it could come off. I mean, a lot of people probably watching this already have rigs, which is why they're probably watching themselves back on the replay. But it's always worth going and having a look at the website anyway. It's got some right good goodies to whet the appetite.
Very much so, and I'll tell you what, who I was thinking before who would be paying a visit to some of the drivers who've been messing with the boss in this race. Of course it wasn't Joe Pesci, it was Luca Brasi. Luca Brasi, of course. Any Godfather of aficionado will know perfectly well what I'm on about. And if you're not, well, go watch The Godfather. What more can I say? Jacko, away from mob movies and onto green, white, checkered here. It's going to be interesting indeed to see if we can actually get through on this one before the time runs out. We're already coming into it's closer to 5 than 10 minutes remaining now. Actually, it's 5.5. And well, do you think we're gonna see more problems before the checkered flag here?
I hope not. I hope everybody calms down just a touch. I get that track position is important for the last 3 laps. I mean, 3 laps around here is finished in 90 seconds, so it's we don't have to go green for long. Put it that way, to get this finished, but. Like I said, track position is obviously very important at the stage of the race because it's pretty much the last gasp. But I think right now the drivers will probably be just as frustrated as a lot of the people watching this broadcast, and they'll probably, just want a clean run right to the end. So fingers crossed that's what we get. With the cars are starting to line up now, and the battered front end of Mathieu Soufi is the one that's directly in front of you, and to your left-hand side is the battered front end of Johan Asario in the Ramon's car. Now, let's have a look at a couple of the drivers that have gained the most amount in this race so far. Hendrik de Graeve, 17th position gain. He's up to 10th. And 15 places gained is still the boss, Ian Root, up to 16th position. So, in fact, that's 15/6/16. And away we go, actually. I didn't realise, but Sergio Hernandez has dropped the bomb and he's gone. It's Tim Perry fighting off the approach of Mathieu Soufi, but in fact Soufi was nowhere near the inside of Tim Perry, and fingers crossed everyone, this is the green-white checkered action we're going to be having a look at now. Soufi and Johan Asario go side by side, not the inside comes Kenzie Newhoff, forcing them wide. Johan Asario touches the outside, and so does, I think, one of the Flemish student sport in the background. We are back under caution period yet again, and we didn't even make it a lap through to the end, as we are now back under the pace car.
Oh, well, that's a rather large one this time, I'm afraid. Let's see just what happened up ahead. Oh, it seems to have its Ariseas again.
And Toby Ward involved as well by the looks of it.
Indeed, there's Toby Ward, the touch there on the inside of Ariseas' car. Oh. I see he went rather quickly into it there. As you can see, there's a big overspeed and the car doesn't really want to turn in. And the contact is made.
Yeah, it's gutting, really, isn't it? As a few of the other drivers as well, who are sort of innocent bystanders. The number 13 car. Now, who's that? He is Fredericks in the Radeon Motorsport by QSR. A driver we don't really mention that often, do we? He was involved in that little incident, unfortunately, and it's hurt some people right at the end of this race. Obviously, the likes of Hasse and Toby Ward are probably feeling the effects more than anybody else. Leaving up to Beak does get an opportunity to initiate the lucky dog and get himself back onto the lead lap as Sergio Hernandez is driving up to the inside of the pace car going, can you hurry up? Come on, let's just get this over and done with. There we go. There goes past Oliphant up the Beak in the Radeon Motorsport by QSR to try and unlap himself. So at least with these caution periods, it's giving something for those drivers further down the field, an opportunity to race one. In fact, Jurgen van der Peer is probably actually hoping that we get the final one initiated so he can unlap himself and try for track position.
Indeed, but I think most of the field will just be wanting to get this over with by now. We're looking at one more caution lap here for the pace car is going to swing in yet again.
To be fair, actually, I think we're going to run out of time before we can even attempt to get the fourth GWC initiated. So there is, well, I think from my reckoning, 2.5 minutes left of the hour and 35. So it's going to be this lap, obviously, and plus one more. And then we will get one lap, potentially. And then that's going to be it. So, yeah, it's going to be the end of the race regardless within the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed it is, Jacko. And I'm come to wonder if we're even gonna have time to finish the green-white checkered properly.
I don't think we will. I think.
Yeah, we will. We will indeed. Well, we're actually. I'm just thinking, is the timer gonna run out before we get to go green here? There's just 35 seconds left. And a lap here is about 1 minute and 5 seconds. And you have to wonder if the timer runs out, are they gonna carry on with the green, white, checkered, or are they just gonna call checkered flag? Which could be what happens.
Well, I hope we do go green, white, checkered, because we've seen before, obviously drivers who are necessarily side by side can pip each other over the line for checkered flag, which sort of makes you race for the final 5 yards up until the line, even though you're under pace car conditions, which is not exactly real racing, is it? So, with any luck, fingers crossed, we do get that green, because we are now over 1 hour and 35 seconds. On my information, it still says GWC 3 out of 4 caution period. The pace car comes in. Fingers crossed we go racing. Sergio Hernandez isn't messing around. We've gone green. We haven't gone checkered yet. So we do have 2 laps to go. It will be racing, and we will finish it, hopefully, under the GWC conditions. Tim Perry's lost out. Through goes Kenzie Newhoff to steal a second place, potentially, away from Tim Perry, but the top 3 have driven away from it. We're not under caution period just yet, so we've made it the longest we go, and it's going to be the checkered flag. And it's going to be Sergio Hernandez who takes the victory, a fully well-deserved victory as it happens as well. Kenzie Newhoff takes second place away from Tim Perry on the final lap of the race after the restart. And Matteo Sufi, Johan Asario, 4th and 5th right at the end. So Asario lost out to Sufi, but still maintains that top 5 position, which will be vital, consistent points for him going into the final 2 rounds of the championship. But it is the man on your screens right now, Sergio Hernandez, who, to be honest, looked pretty dominant in this race. He was unflappable in this entire race, Hasse. He did fantastically well and deserves that victory.
Very much so. It's been a great race for him, and he's really shown and proved his class to everyone out there today. Should everyone or anyone be in doubt, I don't think there really is anyone who is. But it's been a show of class from the reigning champ, the championship leader as well. Just 2 night rounds at Charlotte and Daytona to go. And that's looking good for Sergio Hernandez. So we'll go to the race results. There it is, Sergio Hernandez for Lucky Dogs winning ahead of Kenzie Newhoff for Team Down Under, and Tim Perry yet again on the podium for Boosted Motorsports. Matty Sufi for Simracersworld Esports gets 4th, while Johan Osorio from Ramon's Oval Spain gets 5th indeed. Then Kurt van Hoornager for KB Racing, Fernando Lopez Vinales for Ramon's Oval Spain, and Bart de Vos in 8th place for Simracersworld Esports. Philip Russell in the end gets 9th in the 7-7 car for Team Fordzilla, and Hendrik de Grave 87 car. Flemish Simsports get 10th place. Then it's Paul Gosling, Sven Calvert, Steve Kleiss, Frederick van Eekhoven there for Team Down Under in the 477 gets 14th place ahead of Ian Root, Bart Bolden, Thijs Vandenberg, and Kim Behate. Further down the results, we will see if Fredericks Manola Rock 20th, Bram van Heufden in 21st for Dynamixx Race Simulators, John Barnes in 22nd, then Stuart Musselwhite, Toby Ward, and leaving up the big RSA has Jochen van der Peer, Lucas de Belder in 28th place. And then the final couple of positions are Jochen Lennartz, John Tusting, and Ryan Walker.
Well, what a race we've had, Hasse. It's certainly, although the end maybe wasn't as spectacular as we were hoping for, I think it was, and we had like loads of caution periods, I think it was quite an interesting race, to be honest. But as we said before, Hernandez really did dominate. There's no doubt about that one. He was the class of the field today. Kenzie Neuhoff, though, I mean, he came from pretty much nowhere. He wasn't anywhere near the top 5 for the majority of this race, and he sort of yo-yoed up and down a little bit, granted. But he came back down to steal a podium, didn't he? And maybe take some more points away from some championship contenders to help Frederick van Eekhoven, who obviously ended up all the way down in 14th position. So the Team Down Under boys are still trying to hold on for their championship points as we start to line some drivers up in the interview waiting room.
Yeah, indeed. We've got our first driver in. He's going to have a word with Jago right about now. And it's not any of the top 3 finishers in yet, but this is finishing in, what's that, in 10th place?
9th, I think.
9th it was indeed the Fordzilla driver. I have a word with Jacko. It's Philip Russell.
Hi, Philip. Welcome to the Commons Box, and it's another visit to the top 10 as well for you tonight. It is improving, isn't it, the results week by week?
Yeah, definitely improving for sure. First, I want to apologise to Bart there at the end. I just literally lost the rear end and clipped him. But yeah, it was a great result. Top 10 again. And yeah, it seems like we're progressing. I had a few scary moments dropping down to last on 2 occasions, but lucky I had the lucky dog a couple of times that got me back on the lead lap, and yeah, got me back in contention.
Well, we did see a few of your scary moments. We won't lie to you. If you watch it back, you'll have a look at a few of them. You actually followed Manolo Rock going straight off in one of them. There was one particular corner, wasn't it? The exit, I think, of the third. Is this a particularly tricky track to get your power down on? What kept catching people out there?
Yeah, I from experience then, I would say you have to be really light on the throttle, so to really feather it around the corners. But yeah, you can really easily lose it if you put your foot down too hard, and you can just go spinning around basically, which happened in the first incident I had. Put the throttle down, and I just literally couldn't catch it, and it went straight towards the wall. So I had to use my fast repair very early on.
Yeah, I was going to say you did have to use it early on, but I'm just having a look at your championship points, to be honest. And obviously that one's going to be a good haul for you. But you're right. You joined in the Commons Box, and it has been consistently getting better, isn't it? The first 2 rounds were your worst 2. You've dropped those 2. That was a 10 and 9 points gain. Then you had 14, 18, 29, bit of a dip on 15. But then 32, and you're probably going to be in the 20s as well again for this round. So, the championship, you had 18. The championship's not necessarily there for you this time round, but you must be pretty confident that you can potentially turn it around for maybe season 3 here.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And season 3 I can maybe be a bit of a contender. I like the 2 last ovals we're doing, so Charlotte and Daytona. So I'm looking forward to those. So hopefully I can get some strong points once again. But yeah, hopefully for season 3 I can be up there for the whole season.
Yeah, well, what's Fordzilla's interest been into NASCARs then? Because obviously you're here driving in the SRW NASCAR series. We don't often see many other Fordzilla cars around on these sort of ovals. What's their support for you been like in running in this season?
Yeah, they've been giving me a bit of support. unfortunately, not a lot of people do it. I know a couple of drivers take part in the team, but they do their own championships in the Spanish leagues and stuff like that. So, but I'm hopefully I can drag some across to here for next season, and we can work as a bit of a team and get some good results.
It'd be fantastic to see a presence of Fordzilla cars, just like we see a presence of Simsport Esports, Simracersworld, Esports, and Team Down Under cars, and Flemish Simsport cars, and Quantums as well. It'd be brilliant to have more of them down. Before we let you go, Philip, because we do have our race winner in the interview waiting room, and I'm sure you'll appreciate have a chat with him before we go offline. Is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, Team Fordzilla, once again, thanks for the support. And obviously you guys as well for doing great commentary, and Simrace as well for organising this. It's a great series, and I look forward to competing in it going forward as well.
Top man, thank you very much for the thanks as well. And we'll let you go, Philip. Congratulations on yet again another top 10 result.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
So that was Jacko with a bit of a talk with Philip Russell there of the Fordzilla team. Sorry. Now we got our race winner in. It's Sergio Hernandez with another flying performance. And Sergio, welcome to the booth. Nice to have you along. And a chaotic race here tonight. Tough to call, and it must have been tough out there as well, making the right decisions time and time again on the pit stops.
Hello. Thank you very much. What a chaotic race! Oh my god. I feel like I has been aware of the problem all the race, because I don't have any troubles with anyone, but I know the race was a chaos.
Indeed, and having taken pole position for this race with the qualifying this season that hasn't been as dominant as last season at least, do you feel like pole position was more important here than at other tracks maybe?
Definitely yes, because I know it's Phoenix. Phoenix carry out a lot of accidents, a lot of contacts, and being on the front, being on the first positions makes you be more comfortable, because if you're in the back, you're always you have to be very patient, and well, keep an eye always open for all the drivers, and it's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult when all people want to go up, all people want to pass, all people want to go fast. So yes, here it was needed to go to get the pole, and yes, I get it.
So, Sergio, this leaves you in a very, very good position to reclaim the overall championship title as well. 2 rounds left, night races at Charlotte and Daytona. How are you going to approach those 2 races?
Well, I have not done anything. I have used the 2 drop weeks yet with 8 points each race. So if I have any fail, if I have any error, any accident that makes me get out of the track, I probably will not be able to win the championship. So well, I have to run until the last race. I have to be there. I have to be very patient and make good decisions like today. And well, let's see what happens on the next 2 races.
Well, Sergio, best of luck and congratulations on another brilliant race win indeed. And before we let you go off and celebrate, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to here?
Obviously to you, for all the viewers, to my team, Lucky Dogs, and for all the people who was in my stream seeing my race. And that's all.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sergio, for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you along. And thanks for joining us for another talk. Best of luck on your championship charge, mate. That was race winner Sergio Hernandez having a chat with me here in the booth. What a pleasure having the sweet man in. And with that, Jacko, that's going to be the final bits and pups of our broadcast here tonight as well. And as you said earlier, interesting is how I would describe this race. How would you put it in a few words?
Good at the start, good in the middle, frustrating at the end, but a worthy winner.
And a worthy winner. That's beautiful. That's almost poetry indeed there from Jacko.
Thank you very much.
Well, I gotta be honest. Anyway, if you have liked what you have seen here tonight on Simracersworld, do leave us a like. If you want to see more, well, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button with the bell icon to get notified when we go live for one of our many live streams. By now, busy people we are here on the channel. Very, very nice. That is, of course. And with that said, I think all that really remains here from me and Jacko is until 2 weeks from now. Well, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.